I remember one time I was sitting in my apartment with one of my med school buddies, and we were kind of talking because we were like, we were going through some difficulties. I definitely wasn't the top in my class. I'll be the first to admit that, okay? But we were talking about like maybe we should cut out some of these things that we're doing, like stop going to the Maghrib classes or whatever, and like focus more on our school, right? And so my wife, what she did is she has these candies at home, like, and she puts it a bowl like next to the door, and she wraps these like translation of ayahs around the candy. And so everybody who comes to the home, before they leave, they have to take a candy, and it has a wrapper around it as well. And so they take an ayah. So as my friend was leaving, he took the candy, and I said, yo, just tell me what the ayah is. And we were just talking about like maybe cutting back on our Islamic activities and focusing more on school. And subhanAllah, the ayah that he read was the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَمَثُوبَةٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah says, and if they only had believed and kept their duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have been better for them if they only knew. I was just like, wow. I started tearing up. Because we were just talking about, the other guys that obviously don't have anything to worry about from religion. They don't care about any of that stuff. They're just focused on school, and then they party hard too. But they focus school, and party. Right? And we're just like, Allah says, if you only just believed and kept your duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the reward of Allah would have been better for them if they only knew. So subhanAllah, do that, and you may face some difficulties. One of my good friends, he's now in residency. He was a youth coordinator at his masjid on the board of the youth. So he's managing the youth affairs, he's involved in the youth group stuff, and he's also married and he has one child. And so he took his board exams. So those of you who don't know, in medical school you have 2 board exams before you graduate and then a 3rd in residency. And the board exams have a big impact on where you get in for residency. If you want to do something competitive, you need to have good scores, right? And so he took his first board exam and he didn't pass it. And so that just like axes out like a whole bunch of specialties that you want to do, right? And then he took a second. He took the same exam a second time and he failed it again. And then he took it the 3rd time and he finally passed. Then we took a step 2. He's hoping to do better to convince the programs to accept him into residency, and he failed that step 2. He took it a second time, the step 2, and he failed it. Then he took it a 3rd time. Now at this point, you're already applying for residency. So he applied, and he wanted to do emergency medicine as well. So he applied actually for a dual program, emergency medicine and family practice, a dual residency. And it's pretty competitive. And subhanAllah, he told me later, he says, man, you won't believe this. On this one day, he says, I got the email after the whole application process. He hasn't even yet passed his step 2 exam. The program knows that he's failed it twice, after failing step 1 twice. He says that I got the email that I passed my exam. And on the same day, I got the email that I got accepted into this dual program. Like, subhanAllah. He's like, they have no reason at all to accept me. They have no reason at all. I don't meet any criteria. But they accepted me, and on the same day, I got my news that I passed the exam and I got into residency, and on the same day, my wife had our second child. Like, subhanAllah. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. And this is a principle that you have to understand, but it takes trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in tansurullah yansurkum. In tansurullah yansurkum. If you give victory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning you do your best in every single aspect of your life, both deen and dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you victory as well. And you may go through hardships along the way, but guess what? At the end, Allah makes things work out for you. He makes things easy for you, right? It may not be the idea that you imagine or the way that you imagine, but He takes care of you. So ultimately, brothers and sisters, in conclusion, life is always a balance.